All right, we are live. It is Thursday, July 30th, 2015. General rule of thumb, if you are uncomfortable with your face or likeness being recorded live, broadcast live, posted on the internet in the future for everyone to see forever, go ahead and turn off your video or audio, or point your camera or microphone at something else. Today we're just going to do a quick review of development check-in tasks and status on infrastructure. All right. So to start off, general announcements, we have a free PHP Storm license for any Drupal contrib developer. If you have a module theme or layout that you've contributed to the Backdrop community, let us know. Send us an email at info@backdropcms.org and we can get you a PHP Storm license. I think they're good until March, so it's a good intro to the platform. But yeah, if you are interested, let us know. No important updates from the PMC at this time, just kind of carrying on as usual. Nate, do you want to give us an update on community growth?
Yeah, community growth. We're seeing some new activities, some new faces in the core queue, which is exciting. But in the contrib world, we haven't seen too much action. I know there's been a couple of posts in the contrib ops group saying people are working on new modules, but they haven't been added into the repositories yet. So our numbers are looking kind of similar to last week. 137 total projects, 38 total Backdrop authors, and I didn't actually update the count for official releases on Backdrop CMS, but around 53 projects on backdropcms.org. So things still looking really good. I'm excited to see some of these projects. Alex just posted that he's got a port of XML sitemap that's working, or that has started working. But hey, that's great, Alex. It's good to see lots of projects being moved forward, whether or not they're in the contrib group or not. Let's see. I'll just roll right into infrastructure, as I often do. Talking about project modules. So project modules on backdropcms.org and has been for several months now. That is aggregating every time you tag a project on GitHub. It will synchronize with backdropcms.org to indicate which version is the current version, and we'll make a project node on backdropcms.org. In the near future, we're really hoping to get project directory listings up to make it so you can find modules, themes, and layouts on backdropcms.org instead of going to GitHub. And that'll give us some nice improvements, things like we can categorize things and we can search and we can do all kinds of things. Like we can separate out layouts from themes and modules, because right now they're all just kind of jumbled up in one giant list on the Backdrop contrib group. Let's see, Project Browser. I'm still on the hook for getting some server-side work set up for Project Browser on the server side. The client side's looking really great. I'm sorry I keep dallying on that, but we're hoping to get it up in the near future. Let's see. Drush for Backdrop. We always talk about Drush for Backdrop because it's an important tool in the Drupal ecosystem, and we really would love to have it available for Backdrop. Looks like the current status of it is still that Drush is capable of supporting Backdrop, but it's up to us to write a Drush-compatible class. But we're still kind of stuck on that. It hasn't really seen any movement recently. If anybody's interested in undertaking that, all of the pieces are there. It's totally feasible. It's just on us to write a class to actually get that integrated. If that class comes to light and looks like it's pretty stable, I think initially we'll include it in the contrib repository, but we're definitely open to including that in core to make it easier for people moving from Drupal to use Drush between different environments. Let's see.
Project Browser.
Oh, I mentioned Project Browser. It's still on. I'm still on the hook there for getting the server side stuff set up, but the client side's looking really good.
Okay.
I'll let you talk about the website.
Sure. So backdropcms.org, our primary website. We're currently working on getting the Find a Module theme layout stuff done. We have designs for Find a Module, the module page, Find a Theme, the theme page. We're not going to get designs for Find a Layout and the layout page just yet. We're going to start by implementing the module designs for layouts and seeing how that works. And then we will reiterate later. We'll go over how things are working and see if we need to make any significant changes and get those up. But my plan for today is to build those views so that people can start actually seeing them. We have designs, and I think Wes has volunteered his time to design those pages, but he's a little busy in the next few weeks with talks at Drupal Camp Pennsylvania. So he might not get to those until later, but I want to make sure that when he's available, he can hit the ground running and start theming those up for us. So that'll be where we're at soon. So that's pretty exciting. We have also plans in the works to set up a showcase site. So anyone that's built and launched a site on Backdrop CMS can add it to our showcase. So people coming to the site saying what sites are already on Backdrop can actually have a list to go look at them. That's something that I don't know the answer to, because I know there's a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of work on Backdrop, but I don't know what for yet. Maybe those sites aren't live yet. Maybe they are, and we just don't know what they are. So giving people a way to post those sites on our site will not only give them a little search engine love for cross-linking and linking back, but it'll also give us a great place to say, these are the sites that are running Backdrop. So I'm super excited to get that going too. But first, people need to be able to build those sites, and it's easier to build sites if you can find modules, so one thing at a time. We also have plans to do job listings, just like Drupal.org has done a really good job with job listings, and service provider index. So if you're trying to find a company to host your Backdrop site or a developer to build it for you, we should have the same kind of service listings available as Drupal does, because they do those things pretty well. So we'll get those up, and then also kind of a pipe dream of mine would be to have a place that people can post their own Backdrop events. So if we could get some kind of centralized events calendar like DrupalCal, that would also be really good. So in the future, as people start having meetups or conferences or camps or any of that, we can aggregate that data on our site too. So long-term plans look good, but that is long-term. Shorter term, we are working on Backdrop CMS, the product. And so we've got a whole bunch of stuff we're getting ready for the next major release, which will be 1.2, which comes September 15th. Between now and then, we have a bunch of minor issues, too, for us to work on. Obviously, keeping up to date with the latest version of Drupal is important to us, so making sure that we cross-port any of those issues. We also have a handful of issues that we're working on that are related to differences between Backdrop and Drupal. For example, our fancy new updates to the administration theme. Backdrop out of the box is responsive, but not all of it is perfectly responsive because we did start with Drupal, so we've got a couple of issues there to sort those out. We also have some new user interfaces, things like layouts, that are going to need a little attention. So it's just a lot of little tiny things that we can work on in the meantime, get them done, get them in whenever they're ready. We don't yet have a scheduled release for our next minor version, which would be 1.1.3, because we don't have any security issues that we're working on. We don't have any bugs that we think are major enough we need to ship right away. But should we come up with solutions to any of those problems, we will put a scheduled date on 1.1.3. Until then, we'll just keep fixing little things, and we'll cut a release when we feel it is a good time to do so. 1.2.0, the next major release on September 15th, is currently slated to contain a rich text editor, which will be fantastic. Everyone will instantly start using Backdrop when they realize they can have rich text editor, I'm sure. I know I've got my first Backdrop site is scheduled to launch on September 16th because we want to be able to put in the latest stable version with the WYSIWYG editor in it. So that's what we're aiming for. We currently have a branch with all of the work going on with the WYSIWYG editor that looks really, really good. What we're going to try and do is commit the initial version as it is, and then start working on additions to that. So getting image uploading and all of that stuff will come in a second commit, and I did scare a couple of people last week. The second commit is still scheduled to happen before the release of 1.2. But what we want to do is we want to make sure we get some things done and then add other things to it, rather than holding up everything and doing it all in one giant commit. So that's the plan. We're still on schedule to get that done, and it's looking good. We still got a month and a half before that date, so we're on track. Other things we'd like to get into 1.2 are some of the link modules, or sorry, some of the field modules, like link. The Drupal 8 is included in core as well. So if we can get link, email field, and anything kind of along those lines where we already have great contrib modules that are used on more than 80% of sites in the world, just getting those included in core, I think, would make less work for new adopters of Backdrop. We will also need to start evaluating pretty soon the kinds of modules that we want to put into 1.3. So if there are other field modules that people feel really strongly about getting into core, we can do that. I also think we should review the list of problems that Drupal 8 has solved, and see if we can solve those also, whether it's putting modules in core or otherwise adding new features, just to try and figure out how, when Drupal 8 is released, people can do a side-by-side comparison of the two and see how close we can get Backdrop to features that are delivered in Drupal 8. So I think we are coming up on a Drupal 8 release. An end is in sight, maybe. So that means that we need to kind of get our act together too and make sure that we have a nice comparable product. All right, so in terms of date, link, and email, those are the three modules that we're working on. It looks like we have a pull request for date and a pull request for link. We do not yet have a pull request for email, but that would be the next logical place to start. All right, so we also have at backdropcms.org/roadmap a list of all of the things that we're planning on including in the future. That's probably where we'll post what we're going to put in 1.3. So if anyone has any strong feelings about that, we can start thinking about that pretty soon. Other things that we're always working on in Backdrop are user experience issues. So if you're using it and you find interfaces unintuitive, we can try and improve those. And developer experience issues. So if you're trying to write module themes or layouts for Backdrop and you find the code unintuitive, we can work on fixing those too. Definitely create issues in the issue queue as you feel necessary. Some of them we'll be able to fix right away. Other ones might require more complicated changes that won't get in until Backdrop 1.2, but it is useful for us to know what we're facing. If there are relevant issues for Drupal, like I know a lot of times I create an issue against Backdrop that I created against Drupal a couple of years ago, I try and link them together. There's no reason we can't solve these problems with the Drupal community, Backdrop being so similar to Drupal 7. I think solutions for both should go in at the same time, if possible. So definitely letting us know what's been done before or what's been discussed before is going to help move things forward, and we can then report back to the Drupal community what we've done to fix it on our end if we happen to get it done first. So that's definitely something we aim to improve in both platforms. Every Thursday after this meeting, we have a little sprint in IRC. We call Thursday Backdrop Day. If you can get some time to work on Backdrop, doing it on Thursdays is useful because there's lots of other people working on Backdrop on Thursdays. We can all hang out in IRC, talk about what's going on, hang out on Twitter, talk about what's going on there, hang out on Reddit. Lots of different places people can talk. This meeting also happens on Thursdays. We have a design meeting that happens on Thursdays. So Thursdays are a good day to be thinking Backdrop in general. There's lots of stuff to work on in the GitHub queue, but if you need direction as to what to do first, IRC, Reddit, Twitter, there's lots of good places to ask. You know, what are you passionate about? What do you want to fix? Are you using Backdrop for something? What have you found frustrating? Fix that. Lots of places to jump in. Upcoming events. So this weekend is a huge weekend for Backdrop. We have 3 Drupal events happening at the same time that are all Backdrop friendly Drupal events. We have Drupal Camp Costa Rica, where I think Alex is sitting in a session right now listening to this talk from Drupal Camp Costa Rica. So hello, Drupal Camp Costa Rica. Alex, I'm not sure if you've given your talk yet or not, but he did post, did he post a GitHub link? No. But he did take our Reveal.js slide deck, and he's going to give a similar talk this week on what is Backdrop and why you should care, which I think will be really interesting to hear how that goes. And then we also have DrupalCorn, which starts today, which is in Iowa. I'm not sure if there's anyone giving a talk there on Backdrop, but I know they did specifically ask to be listed as a Backdrop-friendly event, which is nice. And then starting tomorrow, we have Drupal Camp Pennsylvania, where we have Alex. Andy, are you going to be there too? Maybe. No? Too far away for you? I don't know. And Wes will be there. So I just thought you were so excited about it, Andy. I thought maybe you were going to be there. Maybe not. Just supportive, either way. So we're going to have lots of people there talking about Backdrop 2. I can't wait to hear how that goes. So very exciting. In the near future, so starting in a month, we also have DrupalCamp LA, which I know John is here. Thank you, John, for making that a backdrop-friendly event. And then in the beginning of September, we have Nerd Summit. There's going to be a whole bunch of other events that end up being backdrop-friendly. And as we find out about them, we'll put them on the iCal feed. You can get links to that iCal feed on the Backdrop Contribute page on our primary website. You can get them on the Reddit. Yeah, there's DrupalCamp Ohio. That's not until October, though. So all of the events that are in the far future, there's going to be so many of them, we shouldn't talk about them every week in this meeting. But definitely subscribe to those iCal feeds. That'll tell you where the friendly Drupal events are. If you have an event, you want to be a Drupal event, you want to be Backdrop friendly, send an email to info@backdropcms.org, and we'll add it to the calendar. If you're offering to give a presentation or giving a presentation at one of these events, let us know. We'll add it to the calendar. If you're an organizer and you want it on the calendar, let us know. Any way we can kind of help promote those is definitely going to be great for us. So we will help. I don't think there's anything super new in the news this week about Backdrop, but if anyone does write blog posts or read interesting blog posts, we're definitely happy to mention those here as well. So let us know if you read anything cool, and we'll help spread the word also. Let's see. Is there anything else we should talk about today or weekly that we have skipped over or haven't talked about yet and should? Anything anyone wants to ask or show and tell? One thing I did want to mention, we mentioned it in the design call earlier today, is that we have a set of Reveal.js slides for anyone who wants to give a talk on Backdrop. If you want information from the talk that Nate and I have been giving for the last year, you want to steal a slide, it's all online in Backdrop ops/slides, I think is our repository for that. We've also set it up in a way that if you're giving a talk on Backdrop and want to put your slide deck into the public domain, you can just drop your HTML file into the root directory. You can choose, we even have like a Backdrop theme there that just has like Backdrop colors in it, black, white, and some kind of blue. Very straightforward and clean. We would love to have slides in there. Of course, it's optional, obviously. Steal from us all you want. Give back when you feel appropriate, as open source world usually works. So those are just going to be out there for anyone to use. I know Wes is working on making a whole bunch of additional improvements to that slide deck, including adding speaker notes, which I know will be really helpful because some of them are just like a picture of something random and I don't know what I'm supposed to say here. But yeah, they're there if you need them, if you want them. If you're just curious and want to see one of the talks, you can watch through the slides instead of watching a video if you think that would be more useful. But yeah, they should be up. All right, anything else we should talk about? Any questions, comments, feedback? Yeah. Nate, anything to add?
Yeah, I wanted to recap, we'll get to Andy in a second. I wanted to recap progress on our big modules for 1.2 as well. So the WYSIWYG stuff, I think, is totally functionally ready. It seems like actually some people have been using even the dev version for a little while now with great success. But our current commit is held up just on tests, so we just need to add some tests to make sure that functionality stays working in the future. I reviewed the link stuff that Jeff's been working on, and it looks great. It's a really solid looking port. There's a bunch of stuff that is in there that is in the contrib version of link that, well, it's there and it's working, but I don't know. It seems like it's awfully verbose. I wonder if we can maybe just tidy up the UI a little bit to hide some of that complexity, because there's a bunch of stuff in that contrib version of link that, I mean, you can see why it's useful, and obviously it's all in link module for a reason, because it's developed over a long period of time. And it's really hard to remove functionality and still maintain compatibility in an upgrade path. So I'm feeling like we'll probably leave the functionality in there, but we need to clean it up a little bit. And the other one, email. Email is the one that needs the most work. It's also surprisingly the simplest, the simplest one. So if anybody is interested in undertaking email is a really trivial field to get built, but it's the one that needs the most work. I don't even think anybody's even started on it yet. So anyone that has some free time, that would be great. Otherwise, that one might slip into the next release, which would be fine. I think getting WYSIWYG, if we get date, that would be incredible, and link. All of this is good. That's going to be a really compelling release just by itself. Let's see. Okay, it looks like the other discussion is actually not a question. Having a little back channel chat over here in the Hangout chat, talking about shortcodes and whether or not we want them. I don't know. We'll let that develop a little bit and see how things work. Yeah, our WYSIWYG stuff for Backdrop 1.2 should be pretty great. It doesn't actually use shortcodes. WordPress uses square brackets. But what we're currently doing, and I think that this trend is gaining a lot of momentum, is using HTML tags, and then using data attributes on those HTML tags to kind of annotate them with additional information. But yeah, I would like to, I mean, WordPress has a lot of great filters that come out of the box, and I would like to expand kind of the functionality that Backdrop includes out of the box for doing some things. I mean, WordPress is really elaborate with some things, like you can embed a slideshow, which is pretty sweet, but it's also just incredibly, I don't know, it's not really compatible with a lot of our philosophy. That it just like is a giant square bracket with like a huge list of images in it. It's just crazy. But it works great, even though it is janky. Yeah. Jen, any last things to say, or anybody else? Feels kind of weird. I'm just kind of like reading this discussion and summarizing it as a statement.
It's valuable for people watching the video because they can't read what's going on in the side conversation. So.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to add. I'm excited to jump back into the issue queue and get my hands dirty with all of this awesome stuff you guys have been doing. So.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, Jen and I have been really occupied the last couple of weeks, but it's been incredible to see the things that have been happening even in our absence. Like, it's great to see people connecting and reviewing each other's work and having discussions and moving stuff forward. It's been fantastic. But obviously, I mean, I'm way behind on pull requests, and I've been reviewing them this week and getting some of them in, but there's a long way to go, which is, again, a great problem to have. But it would be even better if I could get through them all in a timely manner. We're still looking, I mean, our long-term goal has always been to have a large number of committers to the project and a smaller kind of guiding committee. And so I'm hoping we'll be able to expand that out and reduce that bottleneck in the future. All right. I think that's it. Unless anybody has anything else. All right.
Well, quiet.
All right.
Okay. We'll see you in the issue queues.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you online and next week.
Bye.
All right, bye guys.